Well, good morning, everyone. Well, actually, it's afternoon. My name is April Demito. I am the Assistant FNP Program Director here at Olivet Nazarene University, and I also am one of the Associate Professors here, and I teach just about all of the classes in the core and in the FNP program. This term, I am going to be teaching patho, one of my favorite courses to teach. And I realize that this is your first introduction into this track. So some of you are in education, leadership, and FNP. And I understand that many of you are also taking this course in conjunction with theoretical and professional foundations. So, this is going to be a challenging yet rewarding uh, time. I think for those of you who are going into the FNP realm, that pathophysiology is one of the most important courses that you can take. The patho you're going to be taking in graduate school is different than the patho you took in undergrad. Undergrad patho focuses a little bit more on the the cellular piece of pathophysiology. Now you're coming in, and we expect that you have a understanding of that process, and we are going to move more towards the disease process and how the pathophysiology of the body uh, relates to disease, and also how we formulate a treatment plan. So, what the purpose of today's session is to give you an overview of the course. This is a very challenging course, and I want to do everything that I can to help you be successful. And I have found that students who participate in this have a an edge, I guess you could say. So we're going to go into the actual module for 673, and this is what it looks like. And yours looks similar, I'm sure. We start off with the announcements, and you're going to find that I make announcements often. I can't speak to your other professors, but I strongly encourage you to check your announcements on a daily basis. Now, I have this hooked up to my phone, so I will know anytime you guys make an email. I also get a ding whenever I make an announcement, so that's probably the best way to go. That way you won't miss anything. But if you don't have the capacity to do that, I strongly encourage you to check this on a daily basis. You may miss some very important information, guidance, and I work very diligently to try and close those loops that students may have. So if you ask me a question that's been addressed in one of the announcements, I'm going to ask you to go back and look at those announcements, so that um, you understand the importance of these announcements. So let's go into the syllabi, or the syllabus. Syllabi is for plurals. And this is similarly written. We use something called Real DX in this course, and this is something you should have received an invitation to join. You accept that invitation and you fill out all the paperwork, and then you'll have access to it. And all the directions are listed in here as to how you go about doing that. And this is what the invitation looks like. Look in your spam file if you've not received it. And we have recommended materials and supplemental materials. The special requirements, you need to have computer access, and Microsoft Office is available free, a printer, a scanner, and you have to have an external webcam, microphone. These are required for taking your exam. And this is an external webcam. It is not the camera that's built into your computer. So you'll need to purchase one if you do not have one. They're relatively inexpensive. And the purpose of this is for our proctors to ensure that you are being conscientious about the requirement of not having any resources. So this way they can look around to the back of the computer and around the room. The MSN handbook, I strongly encourage everyone to look at this and update it on a by course basis, because we do make changes. The late work policy, we greatly discourage work being turned in late. And I know that this can be challenging. We're all working. Many of us have families. Sometimes the time gets away from us. My recommendation to you is to stay as far ahead in the coursework as possible. Do not wait until the last minute to begin your assignments, or that is predictive of failure. I just finished my doctorate program in June, and working full-time, working as a nurse practitioner full-time, and working as a full-time faculty member made it very challenging. So I made it a goal to stay 1 week ahead of my coursework so that I wouldn't be late with any examination or any papers being turned in. And there was one incident where I had done an assignment. I had done it, and then I realized the day that it was due I had not done it correctly. So when I came home from work at 8 p.m., I had to redo this assignment. The assignment was due at midnight. It was a huge assignment. So I've got the assignment done. However, it was 10 minutes late, and I received the deduction. And I understood that. That's part of being accountable, accepting responsibility. At Olivet Nazarene University, if you are unable to turn in your assignment on time, you will get a 10% per day deduction from the assignment grade. After the third day, the assignment is graded as a 0. Now, of course, there are always exceptions. I have had, if you have a major event in your life, you have the stomach flu, those things, I will perhaps give you a day or two to turn that assignment in on time. But a lot of it depends on what a responsible student you have been in coursework period. All right, so this is our grading scale, and you can see we have a very strict grading policy also. For you are only allowed to get 2 C's in your courses. You're not allowed to get a C in an FNP specialty track. But in MSN courses, C minus or 74 to 76.9 is non-passing. If you get a C, it is considered passing only in the MSN courses. However, you are only allowed to get 2 C's. If you have more than 2 C's, you'll need to redo one. You are only allowed to redo it once, and if that persists, you may actually not be able to move forward in the program. Okay, so, and then we have classes here. So I'm going to exit here and go into the modules now. So when I go into the modules here, you'll see that we have some resources here. You've got my bio here, questions for the instructor, but I actually don't want you to use this one. I turn it off. If you have a question for me, please email it to me. I will get it faster. This questions for the instructor is not attached to my email, so there may be a delay in getting a response from me. Prayer requests can go here. Now we've got some wonderful resources here for you. APA format resources, the MSN handbook. This is a Turnitin check, and then a welcome to the MSN program. This next piece here is on Examity. And I don't know if you're familiar with Examity or not, but all of our exams are proctored through this company, Examity. And I would tell you, one of the first things you need to do is get in there and sign up for your exams. The way it works, the exams are scheduled on specific days, and time slots are open. If you wait too long, there may not be a time slot available for you. And we do not reschedule exams unless there has been a major life event that has occurred. So you really need to get in there and get those scheduled. Let's see. Okay, here we go here's week 1. And it gives you an overview of the class content. So let's go here. The first week, we're talking about immunity and infection, stress and disease. We have PowerPoints here and background reading. And the course introduction video. And this is a great way you can connect with us. Now let's look here at the individual case study discussions. Okay, so here we go. Now you see, by reading this, week 1 and 2, individual case studies, discussion forum, according to assigned groups. For this assignment, you will navigate to RealDX to access the video case studies. This assignment is done individually, according to the assigned groups. So everyone has been assigned to a group, and you can see the group you're in by going into people. However, for the first 4 weeks, all assignments are done individually. So you will not be working in a group until week 5. But this is how you know what video cases you're going to be doing. So you're going to be doing group 1 does video case 504 and 391, and then so forth. These 2 cases will actually be worked on for 2 weeks. So week 1, you do a certain amount of content, and then week 2, you do a certain amount of content. Okay. Now, this morning at 8:30, the first drawer opened, and the patient videos and assessment data was available. Now, students, you need to create a list of subjective and objective information. So you need to watch this video and be jotting down notes, and you need to have a good understanding of what subjective and objective is. Subjective is what the patient tells you. Objective is what the provider sees. Each individual student will post differential diagnosis, including subjective and objective information from the patient video, any additional lab diagnostic testing, if any, the student would order. And if you're going to order a lab, say you would want a CBC, I want you to have a little box there with normal lab values. And I have you do that because I think that it's very important for you as providers now to have a greater understanding of what normals are. So any labs, you must have a little box with the normal lab values, or however you want to do that. You have to have a differential diagnosis with rationale for each potential diagnosis. So I say that everyone needs to have at least 3 to 5 differential diagnoses, and that differential diagnosis has to have a rationale. So say if one of my differential diagnosis is sore throat, that's not a differential diagnosis, that's a symptom. If one of my differentials is pharyngitis, I have to have a rationale as to why I believe that pharyngitis is a relevant diagnosis for this particular patient. Okay? And that needs to be submitted by Wednesday at midnight. Now, on Thursday at 8:30 in the morning, you're going to see that the healthcare provider's differential diagnosis is revealed for each video. Now, sometimes, in a few cases, you will not see a differential diagnosis, and I don't know why it is the case, but I have found that there are a few cases where there isn't, the provider didn't do a differential. I can't speak to that, so if you don't see one, then that's why, so don't worry about that. If you do get your differential diagnoses of the healthcare provider, which is going to happen about 90% of the time, you need to compare your differential diagnosis with that of the healthcare provider, and you need to discuss any discrepancies. So you need to explain why you believe the provider chose a differential that you did not choose, and vice versa. So you need to then prepare a final diagnosis on the case, including a rationale, and submit the diagnosis with the rationale by Sunday. So all of that needs to be done by Sunday. Now Monday at 8:30, week 2, the healthcare provider's diagnosis is going to be revealed for every video. And you need to compare the diagnosis with that of the healthcare provider and consider discrepancies. So you need to explain that. And you need to prepare a treatment plan connected to the final diagnosis. This treatment plan needs to be based on clinical practice guidelines, and I don't want you to strictly use up to date. Up to date's really nice, but I like you to look at other resources as well. Another big piece is patient education. So patient education, what patient education are you going to provide your patient related to the diagnosis and treatment? If you are prescribing any medication, you need to write it out as a prescription. So that needs to be written out. That RX needs to be written out like you are a healthcare provider, and write it out. And then any follow-up recommendations. When should the patient be seen again? Do they need to go to a specialist? Anything like that. So that treatment plan needs to be submitted by week 2, day 3. That's Wednesday before midnight. On Thursday, all video case studies for the week are going to be opened. You'll be able to see all the visible information, compare your treatment plan with that of the provider. Now I want you to start reading each other's case study posts and review the healthcare professional's actual treatment plans for each case of the week. Students submit feedback postings to one other student's discussion forum thread, and that needs to be a minimum of 75 words, including a reference to one scholarly article, clinical practice guideline, and or evidence-based guideline. So that's going to be due day 6. The students need to submit a response post by Sunday. Now we have, let me move here so I can see it. Let's look at the rubric here. It's taking a minute to open. Okay, so here we go. When in doubt, follow the rubric. So go in and make sure that you are following and you have done everything that the rubric is telling you to do. That's always a good way to ensure that you get full points. Excuse me, just a minute. And I'm not going to answer that phone because I don't know who it is. Okay. So, that's the case studies. They're all different case studies, of course, but you will be working in groups after week 4, so week 5. They all follow the same format. And I think you're going to find it's really helpful. Then we have the time estimation quiz. And this just takes a couple of minutes for you to do because we want to know how long it's taking you to do the work that's been provided to you. And you'll see that too. Now here, week 4, we have our midterm examination. The midterm examination is going to cover all of the material from week 1 through 4. And I always do a midterm review. Now, the midterm review that I do, it's on your calendar. It's live. And I strongly encourage you to attend. Now, this is not an exclusive manner in which to study for your midterm. This is a lecture. So it gives you a review of everything that we have covered up to date, and I think it's a good basis to plan your study for the midterm on, and I find that students really like it, and I've got to tell you that midterm is really difficult. Now here we move on to week 5, and you can see that there are 2 entries here. It says Community Disease Portfolio. This is the paper you need to write. It is not due week 5, it's due week 6. These are turn it in options here so that you can check for your plagiarism. And here we go. You'll also see the self-evaluation and peer group members' evaluation during case studies. You get 18 points for this, and it's incredibly important that you do so. Working in groups, you need to work together and cohesively. And if that's not occurring, I need to be notified. I want everybody to carry their weight. That's always a challenge when doing group studies. And this is a way for you to let us know how everyone in the group is contributing. And it's anonymous. Nobody's going to know about it. And it's 18 points. So make sure that you do that. Then you'll see week 6 that community disease portfolio is due. And you see first half. The second half is going to be done in patho 2. And I have a video that I put together for you that I'm going to post that goes over what a good paper consists of. Now, you all are in patho 1. You do have a background of writing papers. However, at the graduate level, the expectation is a little higher. We're quite sticklers for APA format. These are professional level papers, and they are not to be written in first person. So you do not refer to yourself in these papers. This is a professional written paper. So you do not use first person references. If at any time during a paper in graduate school you need to refer to yourself, which is very rare, you consider yourself the FNP student or the graduate student. You never say I or my or me. Those are big no-nos in graduate level writing. And you can see here we have, as we move forward, it's similar. Week 8, you're going to have a discussion forum reflection and the final exam. Again, there will be a review session that is already scheduled, so make sure that you have signed up for your exams, and make sure that you have put a notation of when those review sessions are being held. I record them. However, I have found that those who participate actually do a little bit better on the exam than those who just watch the video. And I think that is because you don't have an option of getting your questions clarified. So when we're doing that live review, if you have a question, you can jot it in the text in the chat box, and I'll answer it for you right there. So this concludes the overview of 673. And I hope that you find this helpful. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here to help and guide you through your journey. So I look forward to working with you these next 8 weeks, and have a wonderful rest of your day.